interacting and engaging with great people always lives behind memories you can never truly erase. My meeting and interacting with President Kalam has been full of such anecdotes. I can distinctly remember my engagements or meeting him in 3 different phases. One was before he became the president of this country, the second time during his presidentship, and the third after he left down office, and many more meetings after that. When we meet great people, many times we think the post that they are holding or the responsibilities that they are managing is what confers greatness on them. And this is where I thought Kalamji's greatness truly lies. When I met him the first time, I remember it was at a discussion regarding development issues that was being held in ISRO or something to that effect. And one of the officers of ISRO introduced me to Mr. Kalam and said, the great scientist. And so to me, his definition of greatness was very limited to just science. And since I was not really a student of science in that sense, though being a physician, I never really followed the science that he was practicing. It just meant a great man, and I just went on. But what struck me in that meeting was his absolute simplicity and his concern for everybody. Possibly it looked as though he knew every single person in that group. He went around to each person, talking to them. It was as though he was their neighbor, asking about their families, the child that grew up, the child that got married and stuff like that. And at that time you really think, how can this man be great? He's so ordinary. We don't understand that these extraordinary people, by being ordinary is what makes them great. And it takes a lot of maturity for us to recognize that. And when he became president, I was shocked and surprised that I got an invitation from Rashtrapati Bhavan to come to have tea during the Independence Day celebrations. And on reaching there, I learned that this was the first president in our country who said, I want to celebrate my Independence Day tea, not just with the leaders of the day and the political parties in power or the chief ministers and prime minister of the day, but with ordinary people in the ground, at the grassroots, who are working to make a difference in this country. So he had invited 100 people from across this country, from different states, people who are quietly, tirelessly, insignificantly unknowing or really not known well to the outside world, operating in our own little domains. How did he get to know of us? How did he pick us out? I really don't know. But the fact that he said these people need a space. Now contrast this with the climate and ecosystem today, where social activists are really looked down upon, where NGOs are seen as threatening agents of change which the state doesn't want to encourage. And here is a president of a country saying these are the people who matter, people who work for these voiceless communities, and gives them tea along with the prime minister and whatever of the day. So I was shocked, touched and deeply impressed by him. And he spent an hour addressing all of us, saying why it was important for him to spend time with us than with anybody else on that day. And later on, after he laid down office, he has come several times to Mysore. And every time he would come, I would make it a point to go meet him. And once I remember, I met him at a guest house of the great J.S. Suttur Mutt. The Swamiji was there and President Kalam was there, and in a childlike way he asked me how was my work. He still remembered what was he doing, how were the tribals. For a man who was the president of a country with so many engagements, talking to thousands of people every day, to remember what we did, where we worked, I thought was remarkable. Now it is such small things which was part of his DNA. This is embedded in his consciousness itself. It was not a pretense, it was not something he was putting on to demonstrate it as a great people lover. That was the way he was, and that is true greatness. And I think simplicity can be cultivated, and for some people simplicity is a way of life. For Kalam, it was part of his DNA.